All right, so my name is Mia Van. I'm the founder of Mlab. We provide education, use case building, and strategy for our clients. And we have two focuses. One is on sustainability, and the other is customer-centric innovation. So today I'll talk a bit about sustainability and what we can leverage blockchain and Web3 to support sustainability on. So why is sustainability important? So there's a lot of answers to this question, and there's a lot of different things that you can say about sustainability. But for the purposes of today, I wanted to show a couple data points. So from a customer's point of view, 85% of customers are willing to take personal action to combat sustainability. So I've actually done quite a lot of research on this in terms of customer surveys, and what we have found is customers are very interested, but oftentimes they don't know what information is out there, what can they do exactly, should they even use an app for certain things, and they're really looking for companies and the public entity to guide them. So really relating to the second data point that we have here, customers feel that organizations should do more around sustainability. So they're looking for businesses to provide this leadership in the marketplace. And then coming to the business side, companies also believe that in the next 5 years, sustainability will be more and more important. And this is very evident in the different things they're doing today. So making products more sustainable, communicating more sustainability metrics around their products and services and offerings, as well as collecting data and metrics to meet different reportings. So how does blockchain support sustainability? The quick answer is through its capabilities, and there's a lot of different ways. But I think what would be interesting if I provide some use cases for you guys so you can actually see how this might be working in progress. So the first one is around origination, so knowing where your goods come from. A lot of people nowadays, they're very interested in understanding farm to table. Where did their food come from? How did it came about in terms of logistics? Is it from a sustainable farming source? So with NFTs and blockchain, we can actually track this. And an example of this is a grocery store in Australia. So they actually enable their customers to scan a QR code by which they can see where their produce comes from. So when you scan the QR code, it takes you to a website, and you can see the farm where your avocados have been grown, how has it been produced, what's the journey it took to get to the actual grocery store. And imagine if you can compare a couple vendors, you can really make the choice that's the most impactful for yourself and for sustainability. The next example is around materials. So materials are actually quite hard to track. So imagine materials have different compositions. They might be mixed differently. When you're trying to recycle and reuse and dispose them, you need to know exactly what's composed in your materials. So with blockchain, if we inscribe this information on the blockchain, it can be assessed and passed down through its life cycle. This can really help the ability to maintain, to reuse, to recycle the materials effectively. The next example that we have is around ownership. So how many of you have donated to save a rainforest or to plant a tree? So does anyone know where that money actually goes? So with this, what we have looked at is companies, they're actually starting to buy and purchase pieces of land and pieces of the rainforest. They're hiring security to guard it, they're hiring people to grow the right vegetations, and they're putting drones out there to monitor it. So imagine if you can own a piece of the rainforest. So instead of donating to a black box, but you want to buy a token that has a small representation of the rainforest, you could go online and check how it's doing. And maybe for your kid's birthday, you want to gift it to them for their birthday. So this is another way that we can use blockchain and tokenization to support sustainability. The next one is about investment. So as I look around, a lot of the different communities, apartment complexes, and businesses, They're looking to invest in clean energy. So this is solar panels, EV charging stations, and it's quite expensive. And what do? So they look at the banks. The banks, they have green loans, but if they take out a green loan, they have to pay interest to the banks. But what if you can tokenize this investment and you go to your neighborhood and you ask around, does anybody want to invest in EV charging for your community? What if you have individuals who step up and then they buy the tokens, they offer the funding, and instead of paying these interest rates to the banks, you can offer them benefits. So for example, you can give them decision-making power in terms of where to put the EV stations. You could give them power to decide if you want to have rentals come and charge on the EVs as well for a revenue stream. And you could give them a discount when they charge their own cars. So there's different models and different things that you can do with this that enables benefit to the community. The next example, and one of my favorites, is around smart contracts. So in Africa, there's approximately 300 million farmers, and only 3% has climate insurance. The insurance is very expensive and often unreliable. So we have this insurance company, they're fully digital. They looked at this as one of the problems that needs to be solved, and they wanted to use smart contracts and blockchain to solve this issue. So what they've done is that they created their own model called predictive modeling, and they leveraged data from AccuWeather and NOAA to get accurate weather data from across the globe. And they're able to build a model by which, when they analyze the data, they can assess whether or not crops will be good or bad in the next couple of months, and they do automatic payouts to the farmers, so eliminating any manual claims work. So there's a couple results from this. So one is time. So the processing time has decreased from 3 months to a week to get your claims money. There's also a money component. So because everything is automated, they're able to increase their operating efficiency by up to 30%. And this cost efficiency has been passed on to the people who are buying the insurance. So making it cheaper for people to buy this insurance. For the farmers, this creates financial stability. So if they buy insurance, they get some payout. If the weather is bad, they feel more comfortable or more confident in investing in different types of crops. So this is a really great use case in terms of how we can use blockchain to promote sustainability in the farming industry. So how does blockchain support policy? There's a couple policies coming into play around reporting, and this one in particular is around products. So in Europe in particular, we have the digital product passport. So what this is the European Commission's initiative to provide customers information around the origin, the safety, and the climate impact of a particular product. And what it's designed to do is to help consumers make decisions around what products they want to buy and then how to dispose of it at the end of life. There's also two subpoints to this. So one is the cost factor. So raw materials are very expensive to buy when you have to buy them over and over in the new state. So if you're able to track it and recycle it properly, it really decreases the cost factor for your business. Another one is independence. So the past couple of years, we've seen some wars happening in our geography. And there are some raw materials that are very difficult to get, and it's becoming more and more difficult to purchase new ones. So if we could track the raw materials we need, if we could recycle it properly, reuse it properly, that will help secure some independence for the European Union. On the right-hand side for you guys, we have a couple data information in terms of what should be included in the DPP. So this includes the raw material origin, this includes the production information. So as the material gets produced, how much carbon emission does it produce? It has recycling information, maintenance information, and also end of life. So once the material reaches end of life, what should you do with it? How do you properly dispose of it? There's three key stakeholders for the DPP. So firstly is the consumers. So of course this information benefits the consumers the most when they're trying to make a decision on whether or not to purchase the product. It also helps the consumers during its ownership. So when it's time to recycle the product, when it's time to maintenance the product, the information will be inscribed on the NFT, and you could take a look at how to do this. The second stakeholder is businesses. So of course, businesses have to provide the information for the data to be included in the DPP, but they could also use the information to better understand their supply chain, their costs, and through this process, they can make it more efficient, think of new ways to use the data, create new business models, and also further engage in Web3. And then last but not least, we have the public agencies. So they're the last main stakeholders. And for them, now they finally have a common standardization, they have common data, and they can finally track and measure across different categories, different markets, and understand what's working, what's not working, how should I change policy to make our climate policy more effective. So having this data is really good for a lot of the stakeholders within the ecosystem, and it brings about a lot of opportunities. Okay, so this is just a quote from the EC. So information compiled by DPP will be easily accessible by scanning a data carrier. And it would include attributes such as the durability, repairability, recycled content, and availability of spare parts of the product. And it's meant to give businesses and consumer information. So why blockchain? So the DPP will have three parts. So one is the front end, which will most likely be a QR code or a barcode. The middle part is the access and data piece. So this is where the blockchain fits most appropriately. And then at the third part, the most bottom layer is the data, so the data files. So for the purpose of this slide and this presentation, I'll focus on the middle piece. So naturally, blockchain has the ability to inscribe and store data so that multiple people, multiple parties can access it. It's also able to enable tokenization, smart contracts, provenance. So all of these criteria are really great for a DPP's purpose in terms of tracking information, understanding what hands has been exchanged, and understanding different information along the paths of the product lifecycle. But in addition to that, if you use an NFT to help inscribe this DPP, you could also enact a smart contract, providing different automations. So here is where the businesses gain a lot of advantage in terms of creating new products, new business models, leveraging blockchain and NFTs. So I'll illustrate this with the example, so this use case. So how many of you are familiar with Breitling? Just a few? So it's a Swiss luxury watch company. And in 2020, they started to offer NFTs in complement with all of their timepieces. So they had a couple challenges. So one is counterfeit. So across the market, there's a lot of fake watches out there, and they wanted to do something about it. The second challenge they had is that they don't really know how their product goes in terms of the supply chain. They have a lot of secondary partners, a lot of secondary resale, and sometimes it just gets very messy to track everyone that's selling their watches. And the third part is around customer data. So because the watch can be resold, the watch can be passed on, they don't quite know their customers except for the ones they sold to directly. So with the NFT, they're able to, one, provide the digital certification and ownership. So if you have a watch, you have the NFT, this is yours, it's real, you own it. And when you go into the secondhand market, it's very easy. You have the ownership proof. Second piece of it is provenance. So for the customers, they can see, oh, here's all the components of my watch. Maybe there's rare materials, there's the certification of the rare materials. Where has it been created and assembled? What path has it taken to get to the store? Does somebody own this before me? So they have all the product history and information of the watch. For Breitling, this is super interesting for them as well. So whilst the customer sees one side of the provenance, the business sees the other side, which is who are their customers. So they can see if this particular watch has been sold to one customer Has it been passed on to a second customer, a third customer? Where has the customers been located? And if the customers are willing to share their information with them, they can even have further engagement with the customers. So for example, this customer buys Breitling watches every Christmas for a couple people. Or this customer owns a business and he likes to buy watches for his clients. And they can tailor offers based upon the information that they receive. So there's a couple advantages beyond just blockchain in terms of providing this type of offering and solution. So what's next in terms of DPPs? So businesses have to look at what are the requirements and really assess what does that mean for their company and what they need to do to prepare. So for the first step to do that is strategic planning. So looking at what are the data requirements they need to collect, what technology they want to use, do some research and evaluation around that, and then how do they go to market? So this is a really big piece for them as well. It's essentially putting old products in a new light or potentially even introducing new products with this offering. They need to look at the broader businesses. So beyond just fulfilling DPP requirements, what other things can they do with their business? Can they enter the Web3? So now that they have an NFT, maybe there's business models they could build that's Web3 friendly, or they could do advertising in the Web3 realm. So there's a lot to do in terms of developing the actual tokens themselves and also some complementary thinking around new business models. And then here we have a timeline. So what's coming up? So in 2024, in July last month, the EU just passed the sustainable product regulation. So the DPP is included within that regulation. There are several categories already identified, and batteries, a subcomponent of batteries is already up for play in 2026. In 2027 and 2028, we have consumer electronics and metals coming into play. And then by 2020, we'll have 30 categories. So this is very impactful to a lot of different industries within Europe. And not only that, it will also impact industries who have products going into Europe. So it's almost a global standard, if you will. And then last but not least, this is my company, Mlab. So we do consulting around AI and Web3. So we provide education, use case building, and strategy implementation for our clients. And happy to answer any questions about sustainability and blockchain, digital product passport, or about Mlab in the back. Thank you.